Hello Big Brother fans, this is a review of episode 20 of Big Brother 14. The first 20 minutes I think of this episode was like a total rehash of the parts that we didn't get to see on Thursday because everything was just so fast forwarded with the fast forward HOH, 1 week put into one night thing. Anyway, everything moves so fast, the minute Ian gets, that they get done with it, Frank pushes Ian into the room asking if he is going to be going up, right? And it just felt like, I know that, emotions were really high because his buddy, was just knocked out. And, he's just, scattering around wondering why Ian didn't, vote to at least try to keep him in, even if it wouldn't have worked. It would have been he said, a sign of respect. And then the next thing you know, it's like there's Shane and Brittany saying, we want Frank and Ashley up. And then Ian gets pushed again. And he, it's just the way the way they were treating him was like their little bitch. I mean, seriously. He said he didn't want to put up Frank along with Ashley. He wanted to backdoor Frank because that's the only way that they would really be able to get him out is, hoping that he didn't get chosen for the veto or to win the veto, and that way that they could, at least try to backdoor him. But Brittany said no and kept pushing for Frank and Ashley. Ashley pushed him into a room and blah blah blah. To me, it didn't make any sense. Then Joe pushed him into a room and Ian says, are you going to screw me? And then Joe said no. He says, well, give me a week. Joe says, I'll give you 2. So apparently those two are good with one another. So they go out and he puts up Frank and Ashley, and after Ashley was voted out, Frank became extremely verbal and extremely what we haven't seen on TV in any of the episodes. The way he actually kind of acts, more or less. He was running around screaming, calling Ian a puppet, yelling at everybody, that look at y'all should be ashamed of yourself voting that girl out. And I'm thinking, well, who should they have voted out? The choice would have been Joe or Ashley. Either one, it doesn't matter. Both were floaters. Both haven't done anything so far. It just so happened that Joe had, made kind of, sort of allies with people in the house, and Ashley only, refused to choose a side until too late. She chose Boogie and Frank, and that was the opposing team. So, I mean, of course, what would they do, So, he's running around and his emotions are crazy, and anyway, he wins the veto, and he gets pulled down and she goes home. And so he's very pissed off now that both of his friends have been sent out. Then Frank takes Shane, Danielle, and Brittany into a room and tells them that what he's going to do if he becomes HOH, who he's going to put up. Danielle is torn up because Frank wants Dan out, so she's crying. Brittany, at that point, decides that she and Shane are switching teams. So they're going to be with Team Frank, and in her diary room entry she says, you've got to go with the ebb and the flow with what's going on here in the house. Then we move to the HOH competition, which is like a two-parter kind of thing where you get your placements and then you go up against the one person, and that one person was Frank, and he tore up that competition and won his veto. I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, not veto, HOH. He won the HOH. Anyway, immediately he had to choose a have-not for the week, and Brittany immediately, runs up, please don't choose me as have-not, and he kind of laughs at her. and he immediately decides Dan. There was just no choice. And interestingly enough, Dan, in all the time that he's been in the house, has never been on slop, ever. Not even during his season, and not during this season. Interesting. So now he's on slop, on top of everything else, you know, being the target and whatnot of because Frank is interesting. He says Brittany goes in to talk to him, and he says that she and Shane are safe, but he's putting up Dan and Danielle. And he also said, which wasn't aired, that, you know, once he makes his decision, he stated the decision is final. He's not going to flip it no matter what people say or do. So pretty much we know that he is going to nominate Dan and Danielle by the end of the episode. Anyway, the Brittany and Shane and Frank decide that they're going to work together to number 4 or so. But Brittany also has her out, you know, in her diary room. You know, you got to go with the way it goes, but you know, things happen. So I wouldn't trust her as far as I could throw her. Next comes Pandora's box, and Frank is given the choice of going in or not, and he of course goes in. Everybody does, you know, even if it's bad for the HOH and good for the rest of the team. Well, I don't get how that worked, because it seemed like it was good for Frank, but it was also good for the other house members, because they were able to fight for what's going to be a second veto. Hang on a second. Here we go. Oh, only 2 this time. So Frank goes into the Pandora's box, and he gets to pull 3 boxes, and he gets and each box has a number of amounts of money that he gets. His first box has $1.05. His second box has $7.11, and his third box has $3,333.33. So he comes out with about $3,341.49. Not bad, you know, not bad. Meanwhile, the second veto is available, and what they need is 50 cents to play that crane game. And that's when the real personalities started coming out. Dan immediately pretended that, you know, that he won it so that people would stop looking, and then they find him out. Joe found him out and ratted him out, you know. And then he starts diving for people's money, but then so does Brittany. It just becomes a craziness out there. And we find out, well, you know, that would be a spoiler, so I'm not gonna say that here. Anyway, they go in. It eventually ends up that Ian wins the golden veto ball. Everyone is worried that Ian will use the veto. You know, everyone being Brittany and Frank. And so at that point, you know, because he won't commit that he's not going to use it, they decide that they will, Frank and Brittany decide that they'll threaten him that if he does use it, that Brittany will go up, and he'll take Dan down, you know, if he takes Dan down. So it looks like at the end of the episode, Dan and Danielle have been nominated, and Frank dedicates that nomination to Mike and Ashley, and little does he know that those two had absolutely nothing to do with it. Yes, they were part of the Quack Pack, but it was Ian that first said that Frank and Boogie needed to go, and that was edited out, and Brittany was the one that was heard saying we need to put up Frank and Boogie. So he's not, you know, he's going after somebody who really isn't the person that he wants to really be going after. And that's how we end the episode. So, I'm going to do a spoiler after this, so I'll talk to you guys later.